All right, Coach, we're going to start.
Okay, obviously we have a big challenge for us this weekend. Playing one of the top teams in the country the first of the year before they had injuries. They're getting healthier. They've got 16 returning starters off a team that almost won the SEC championship last year. They got one of the better quarterbacks to ever play in the SEC. So it'll be a huge challenge for our guys, and we do realize, we're going to have to keep improving and get ready to play.
Question?
Coach, what makes Aaron Murray such a good balanced quarterback?
Well, he's extremely talented. He's got great experience. He's been in big games, handles pressure well, and it's all the above. And he's mobile enough to push you with his feet too.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Nick Marshall has handled adversity pretty well this year, coming in the summer, winning the starting job, that last-minute drive against Mississippi State. How do you think he handles going against his old team?
That's a good question. I mean, he's familiar with them. There's no doubt. But if he holds true to past experience this year, I mean, he doesn't get too high or too low. Not much really rattles him, and he stays pretty calm. No matter what the moment.
What challenges does Todd Gurley present for you guys?
Well, he's one of the better running backs in college football. He's a big guy, can run. He's tough to tackle. I said he's one of the best in college football.
Gus, just talk about the progress Nick has made running that zone read, which I don't think he had done much before he came here over the course of the season.
I think all parts of our offense he feels more comfortable, and it's becoming a little more natural to him where he can play and not have to think. And I think that's been critical the last few games.
How is having running backs like Corey Grant and Trey Mason, obviously they're not the same running back, but how does that help the defense prepare for Todd Gurley?
Well, I think he's probably a little bit bigger than both those backs, but the fact that we do have three different type backs, I think that helps us defensively, against most opponents.
Coach, obviously you picked up the pace offensively the last 3 or 4 games. How fast do you think you're getting the plays off on average, like per second? Yeah. And how much of the offense different from when you had Cam, or is it exactly the same?
Yeah, first of all, the pace. I mean, that's a big part of what we do when we're playing fast. I mean, that's when we're at our best. I mean, obviously you got to get a first down before you do that. We'll continue to try that to be an advantage. We are a little bit different than when Cam was here. We build around the strengths of our quarterback, no matter who our quarterback is. And so we're a little bit different, but like I said the first year, no matter whether it's Chris Todd or Cam Newton or Nick Marshall, at the core of who we are, foundation-wise, it didn't change. We just build around the strengths of our quarterback.
Because going off that, how unusual is this for you? Just because historically you've never had a team that's passed for so little. You've always had more production in the passing game and a little bit less from the quarterback running, historically speaking. So just how different the experience is for you been this year?
Well, I think the fact that I'm a former high school coach, each year you have different players. You got to try to adapt around that. It's just whatever you do best. You need to build around that, and that's kind of what we're doing best right now.
Have you spoken to Nick at all this week about maybe handling some of the outside pressure or deflecting it somehow?
No, not really. I mean, we're taking it week by week. As far as each game, Nick, there's no doubt in my mind he'll be ready to play. Like I said earlier, he's doesn't get too high or too low. He's an even kill guy. He's motivated, and I know he'll be ready.
That's talking about you being a high school coach before. Did you ever come in contact with Art Briles? Is he someone you met?
Yeah, when I was a young high school coach, he's one of those guys. He was at Stephenville, Texas, and I was trying to figure out what they were doing. I mean, they really had it going on, and I think he was one of the first guys to have a video out, and I got the video and started watching some things they do. Got a lot of respect for him, and he's very good at what he does.
Gus, I know you've been asked probably 1,000 times about how this dramatic turnaround has come about. I'll make it 1,001. Yeah. Are there a couple of things you can point to as to really being essential to what's happened?
I think it's all about our players coming together, putting the past behind them, and becoming close. And I think developing relationships with each other and developing relationships with coaches. I think that is the start of it.
Coach, this Georgia defense isn't quite as highly touted as it was last year. They do still have some playmakers. They've only allowed over 200 rush yards once this year. What do you see when you look at this Georgia defense?
Well, a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism. They're very impressive. They're very impressive in, most areas, and they fly to the football and they tackle well.
Coach, I don't think this is revealing any type of secrets, but when the ball is snapped and you're doing the zone read, take us through the progression of what a quarterback's looking for there.
Well, it's just his base reads, no matter whether it's zone read or read progression in other runs or passes. He's got keys and different things that goes with that.
Coach, a lot of people are saying the read option is just the wishbone from the 80s. Do you agree with that?
Well, I mean, anytime you've got, different facets of, whether it's power read or read zone, there is responsibilities that has to be done defensively. But the bottom line is, like anything else, you got to execute offensively no matter what you're doing, and we understand that.
Gus, in the process of bringing Nick here, how much conversation did you have with Coach Rick and the vetting process? How much was involved in there?
Yeah, no, like I said, I started recruiting at Arkansas State. We did our homework on Nick when we were there, then got a chance to get here, and then, of course, Rodney Garner was there with him, and we had all the information we needed, and we're very proud of Nick as a person and as a player.
So you relied on Coach Gardner's kind of experience with
Yeah, all the above.
Yes, it is unusual though for a player to, after a situation like Nick had, to work his way back and have the success that he's had. The other two young men who went through that situation have not had that success. Can you just speak to Nick's character and the ability for him to make it back to this stage at this point?
Yeah, well, like I said, I got to know Nick recruiting him when I was at Arkansas State as a person, and we did our homework, on him there, and then the fact that we got here with Coach Garner, knew him well, knew the family well, all the above had to do with that, but we're very proud of Nick on the field, off the field. He's got a lot of respect from his teammates as well as his coaches, and he's a good person.
Yes, just talk about Jake Frosch, his kind of role in the offense and how he's kind of come along.
Yeah, Jay is, I said this earlier in the year that he's one of the better fullbacks we've had in our offense, and he's every bit of that, and maybe the best. I mean, he does a lot of things that don't go on stats that make things go. He's extremely tough. He's very unselfish, and he played very well on Saturday.
Because how much of a help has it been having, Rodney Garner, especially this week, with the familiarity he has with both, their offense and their defense?
Yeah, and he is familiar, and with that, but at the same time, we're playing a very talented team, and on both sides of the football.
Coach, I know a lot of talking about Nick this week, but there are a lot of guys from Georgia on your roster. I know no game's bigger than another game, but you get the sense that there's a little more excitement this week?
Sunday was just about like it had been the rest of the weeks. Our guys have been even keel, and they just approached it like the next week. And our guys know it's a big game, but at this point in the season, just like last week, they're all big games. But I think that's been one of the things that allowed these guys to be successful. They've just taken it one week at a time. The outside distractions have not bothered them, and but they know we got to play well each time, each week at this point in the season.
Do you bring up or emphasize what you guys have to play for, whether it's BCS ball?
No, we've not said anything. No, we hadn't even went there. All we've talked about is we got our hands full with Georgia, playing at home, and that's the only thing on our mind. At the end of the season, we'll look back and we'll do all that stuff.
That's Gus, what are the goals for the season now?
Get better each practice, each game. It hadn't changed. And I know I sound like a broken record, but that's exactly what our coaches and players have said, and they bought into it.
Gus, having been here for really big games at this stadium before, how much does that help you in terms of in a game like this?
Well, I do know that, we've got some of the best fans in college football, and there's not a better place to play college football than right out there. And I've been fortunate enough to be a part of some big games there. I know our crowd will be ready, and we just need to give them something to cheer about.
Does Georgia present a different kind of test just because they run more of a base odd front than the even fronts you guys have been seeing?
We've seen a little bit of everything this year. The test that they're gonna give is, they're talented. I mean, they're very talented at all positions, and we're gonna have to execute. And like I said, they tackle well too.
You talked about the importance of keeping Georgia from controlling the ball with the running game. You know, so you had a little success in the first half of that.
Yeah, you know, tempo and momentum and all that is a big part. You know, when setting the tone, I mean, that'll be a big factor. But like I said, they're very good on offense, and they've been good at controlling the football.
Is Ellis Johnson's experience, you know, against Georgia back in the day, South Carolina, does that help at all in this game?
You know, anytime you're familiar, I mean, that's a good thing. But at the same time, I mean, they've got a lot of talent, and they're very good at what they do. And you know, we're going to have to tackle well, and we're going to have to execute, you know, well on defense also.
Is there any hope of Justin Garrett playing either this game or the rest of the season?
It's still up in the air.
Gus, with the offense that you guys run, a lot of people say it's a spread, it's formations, whatever, and I know you've said it's a, you know, running game. When you have stats like you've had and only have to throw it 7-8 times a game, does that kind of make you smile a little bit, saying, you know, hey, we're doing what we want to do in our offense?
You know, the main thing is whether you run it every time or whether you throw it every time, if you're playing good football and you're successful and you're winning, that's really the bottom line. So it kind of goes back to building around your strengths. Whatever your strengths are, that's what you play to, and if you're able to be successful, you keep doing it. I mean, football is not a complicated game. A lot of people make it complicated. But you do what you're good at. And right now, we're good at running the football. With that being said, like I've said the last few weeks, we're going to have to be able to throw it at times. We know that, and we'll keep working, and I think we can do it.